Democrats in panic mode after a terrible debate performance could cost them control of the Senate. Democrat John Fetterman and Republican Dr. Mehmet Oz clashing in their one and only debate before Pennsylvania voters cast their ballots. And it was a total train wreck for the left. Fetterman, who's recovering from a stroke, not only stumbling through his answers, but flip-flopping on key issues. Watch.
Hi, good night, everybody. And let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And my Dr. L believes that I'm fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
John Fetterman, during this crime wave, has been trying to get as many murderers convicted and sentenced to life in prison out of jail as possible.
I believe that I run on my record on crime. I'm the only person on this stage right now that was successful about pushing back against gun violence.
There is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Fetterman's camp blaming the captioning system provided for him as being delayed and filled with errors, but that quickly got shot down. Team Fetterman also dropping F-bombs to spin the awful performance as a win.
I think the people of Pennsylvania saw a relatable guy who's been doing his recovery in public for quite some time, and for a guy who was just in the hospital months ago, took it to Dr. Oz pretty hard tonight.
And Democrats and the liberal media having a hard time convincing themselves that the party just didn't totally blow it.
It was hard to watch, frankly.
It's very obvious that he is impaired.
And maybe the next cycle would have been the better cycle for him to run, because we require representation.
I think it takes real bravery to allow people to see your weakness, right? There was such intense scrutiny, often ableist scrutiny.
Republicans are out there tonight saying that Fetterman is unfit, he should withdraw. But do they not have a race in the state of Georgia, someone running for the very same position in Herschel Walker, who's facing family scandals, lies about his past jobs?
Greg, that was hard to watch. Did you feel bad for John Fetterman up there?
No, I felt bad for Oz.
Did you?
Yeah, he was terrible. No, I think Oz did a good. I mean, it was like having bad Wi-Fi. You know, Fetterman just kept going in and going out. I felt kind of bad for him, but he could have diffused the bomb much better if he just said, you know, when he said elephant in the room, he should have said, look, my mind works fine, but my body's catching up. I feel like I'm a dial-up modem right now in a 5G world. Make a joke, but there wasn't a joke to diffuse the situation. And this ableist scrutiny BS, look, pretending to be concerned or disgusted because people are talking about that, you put him out there. You put him out there. You're allowing everybody to watch this. So it's on you. If you say people are being ableist, we don't mind Dan Crenshaw, right? We don't mind Governor Abbott. So we're not ableist. We're talking about, is this guy fit for the job? And there's a reason why you're mad, because you didn't want him to debate because it looks so bad. And now you have him out there. Now you're trying to pin it on everybody else. But I felt like I was watching Leah Thomas swimming with, the girls' swim team. It just wasn't fair. But I think that Oz did pretty good. I felt like he was letting up on the gas when it got bad.
You did?
Yeah, I thought so.
You thought that was smart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dana, we haven't shown you basically everything. I mean, you could look at every single answer and be like, oh, my God, that was horrible. What happens now?
So we were on a little text thread last night, and whatever stream I was watching was about, I think, 2 minutes behind where you guys were. And so I was like, I was anticipating, I'm like, oh, wow, that was bad. I could see what was coming. So I think a couple of things. One, I think it's notable that Dr. Oz did not say anything about the stroke. He agreed to the closed captioning. He allowed that to happen. The second thing is, they started early voting in September 19th, I believe, for this election. Way over 1 million votes have already been cast. And there was a News Nation, that the host of the debate, they had a focus group, and there were some Democrats there and independents that were leaning Democrat who were already thinking, oh boy, wait, what have we done? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they would have voted for Dr. Oz. Maybe they would have, but they might have chosen Connor Lamb, who was the other Democrat who was running in the primary. John Fetterman's stroke was before the primary. Then he and his wife kept telling everybody, he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. Remember, like for about 8 weeks. And now they're saying, there are some Democrats saying, oh, maybe he never should have debated anyway. I think that's wrong. Like, if you are really concerned about democracy and you want integrity in elections, I think debates are important. And as you move forward in the states and thinking about these rules, perhaps early voting should not be allowed to start until after the first debate has been held. I think that would be fair. The next thing is, I think his team needs to get their story straight. The first thing they came out and said, John Fetterman did a great job, strong performance, and that guy uses the F word, right, to say how great it was. Then the next thing they do is they try to say that the technology was to blame for the stumbles. And that forced the company, Nexstar, to come out and say, actually, it worked perfectly fine. This is what they agreed to and all of that. If Republicans win in Pennsylvania, they're going to get the majority. So I think that's why you have a lot of Democrats sort of hand-wringing this morning. But aside from the stroke, I do want to say I think that it was a bad policy debate for Fetterman on energy, on the economy, and on crime in particular, student debt. All of those, on the issues, it wasn't strong either.
Really, really bad. And he was asked by the moderator twice, and I think the moderators did a pretty good job. Yeah. Are you going to release your medical records? And he still, after this, will not release the records.
He refuses to release the records. But look, the guy had a stroke, I think it's 5 months ago. Okay, many people who have strokes are right now in rehab and therapy and cognitive therapy. It is clear that he did not have the ability to answer anything beyond the most, how can I say this superficial part of it. There was no in-depth, no substantive discussion.
Those slogans.
He could not go down to A, B, C, or D. And so he promotes himself saying, see, I showed how good I am, how great I'm feeling. I don't know that anyone who watched that debate is saying to themselves, gee, that's the guy I want to represent me in the Senate. This guy couldn't answer why was against fracking 4 years ago, but now is in favor of it. And you could say it's a stroke, and, God bless him. I hope he gets better. But we're talking about the Senate. We're talking about a country that's divided, a country where everything matters, every fact, every issue. You just don't look at the superficial layer. You've got to go down. He's got a progressive socialist ideology where he wants to release 1/3 of the criminals in prison. He wants to get rid of parole for lifers who are in jail. I mean, this is a guy who is not in the mainstream. And there's no question. September 19th, they started voting, and now he has the debate on October 25th. Whether it's 650,000 or 1 million have already voted, they can't change that vote. And there's one more thing I want to say. It just reminded me of Joe Biden. Remember Joe Biden? He was in the basement. We've got COVID, and his wife, Jill, is walking him around. I feel like the same thing is happening here with Fetterman's wife saying, oh, he's fine, he's fine. Maybe you should be taking better care of him. Maybe he should be in rehab. Maybe this isn't the time for him to be running. That's just my opinion.
And of all candidates, it's Fetterman that Barack Obama and Joe Biden are going to go to Pennsylvania together and campaign with together. What does that tell you?
Well, I think you framed it right. This race here could very well decide who is in the majority in the Senate. It was painful to watch. There's no doubt. This is a person, a human being who clearly is battling his recovery and battling with the recovery to get through it. And you have to hope and pray that he does get through it. But I'm not sure it affects the outcome in any meaningful way. I think that the issues here that Dana raised are issues that he's been campaigning on from the very beginning. And he won the primary. He's now, seems like he's 3 or 4 points ahead here. And as we get to the November here, I do think an argument can be made about this early vote piece, but voters who don't want to go vote early don't have to go vote early. And if Oz had a poor performance, some may have said, well, maybe I should have held my vote back to see how he may have performed or how he may have fared during the debate. Look, Obama, Biden, everyone's going to descend upon this state. And frankly, for Democrats, what they're really hoping is that Shapiro, the gubernatorial candidate, the Democratic gubernatorial candidate, who I think is the best Democratic gubernatorial candidate in the country, can help pull Fetterman over the finish line as well.
You want Fetterman in the Senate?
Well, I don't. What I do want are some of his views and some of his ideas. I don't agree with all of it.
He's got crazy ideas. You just heard how crazy they are.
I was more of someone else in that race. I was supportive of in the primary. His politics, politics of Conor Lamb was more like mine. Yeah. That being said, I'm not sure this affected the outcome. This is not going to influence the outcome of this race very much. I think this debate.
He's a wounded animal that can't cut it in Washington.
And that's the sad part of it.
That is the set. I'm not saying I'd agree with them. That is the reality of it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.